Hey everybody, Raging Jeep here. Time for another project video. Unlike my last big video that I edited and put into an hour and some, I'm going to do this one in a couple different parts. So this will be the next test of editing skills, cutting all these videos together. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the TJ Fox Performance shock that comes to you stock with the incredibly short 4-inch braided hose and designed to use these brackets to hold the reservoir on. We're going to take it apart and install a 10-inch braided hose that I got from Poly Performance, link in the video, so that it'll look like this. And the goal is I have a 25-gallon tank under my TJ, and the space that tank takes up interferes with the reservoir as it sits this way. So what I'm going to do is mount the shock thusly, and then the reservoir will go on top of the frame rail instead of adjacent to the main body. So I saw a lot of videos online that talked about disassembling the shocks, but none for this era. These are brand new, so they're a little bit different. But look forward. I have no idea how many parts this will be, but this is part 1 of X. Alright, to get started, you're going to need a couple tools for disassembly. Before you disassemble, you want to make sure your workspace is clean. You're going to have some non-fiber transferring rags and things like that. I know I'll probably get a lot of hate comments. At the end of the day, I get it, right? But we're not Formula One here. So I've done this a couple times now and haven't seen any problems with my method. If you don't like it, cool, don't do it. You'll also need some replacement oil for the reservoir and the main body. I'll put the link in. I bought a gallon of Fox shock oil, blue. That's what's in here now for like 54 bucks. You can buy 8 ounces for like 45 bucks, but I love this. They just fill up a gallon jar and send it to you. It's fantastic. You're going to need a reservoir. I label this one junk so I don't get confused, to hold the old oil that comes out of the shock body. You're also going to want to order your 10-inch lead, or however long you need. 10 should be fine, so I think that'll work out great. These were, gosh, I don't even remember, like 20 bucks. And then you're going to need a couple tools. So I'm going to use a rubber mallet, dead blow hammer, not a rubber mallet, sorry. Screwdriver, straight slap, and 5/8 and 9/16 inch wrenches. That's really all you need. That and a little elbow grease to disassemble the shock. So we're going to do this in 2 phases: draining, disassembly, and then preparing to reassemble. Alright, so as I mentioned, there are 1,000 different ways that you could disassemble this. This is the way that I think makes the most sense, works great for me. Again, if you don't like this way, cool, don't do it this way. But the reservoir, the 4-inch braided hose, goes into a 5/8 inch connector here, 90-degree elbow, that's a 9/16 that goes into the main body of the shock. In this process, you're going to be taking the hose assembly and the elbow out. The new hose goes directly into the shock body and conveniently does not have a 90-degree elbow, because that's not what you're going to want for this application. If you want it to mount on the frame rail, you want it to come straight out. So that's awesome. So you're going to take your 5/8, loosen this up. You are going to get a little bit of oil coming out. I did miss a step. I did this, but I did not tell you about it. On the bottom is your Schrader valve. I already did this. Release all the pressure. The shocks are filled with nitrogen, inert gas. Hit that, release the pressure, as you saw, it does not release all the pressure. There is still a tiny bit of pressure left in there. And so you will get a little bit of squirting coming out. It's not a problem. That's why I have a plastic bag underneath it here to help keep things relatively clean. We'll get my official sponsor Bud Light out of the way, wipe up the oil that spread around. But now that this is fully depressurized, I can take this off. I'm going to set that up like that, just to hang out there for a minute. Stay. And I'm going to pick this up, wipe it off. Being careful not to lay the elbow down on an angle where more oil would leak out unnecessarily. Put the cap over here. And then I'm going to take the plastic, since I'm not reusing this oil, which you should never do anyway. The words reusing and oil should never be used in the same sentence. I'm going to very carefully pour this into my little junk oil jug. I'll take my little shop rag, wipe it off. It's always good to try to keep it clean. Again, I'm not super anal about it because the immediate work area is clean enough. That's fine. Throw that in our trash. Put this over here. Now, you can try to pour some more out. You'll notice there's no more coming out. That's fine. You're not really going to get a lot more out of this. So what we're going to do is set this aside for a minute. And then we do have a lot of oil left in this main reservoir. So right now, since it's not charged, the piston is out. I could hit the piston and drive all that oil out. I don't want to do it with the 90-degree elbow in there because it makes it harder to get it out. So I am going to take that 90-degree elbow off. Comes off right like that. You'll see oil right down in there. And then just because I can, I am going to temporarily put the longer lead in there, and I'm going to use that like a little much longer lead, and then I'm going to compress and push out almost all, not all, but almost all of the oil. It won't all come out, but most of it will come out. Alright, you can see it's still coming out. Let that sit there for a minute. Alright, so that's done. We're going to take this off for now so it doesn't get damaged. Now, what we have is the main body. See if we can get any more. Look at that, we get a little bit more. Let that all pour out. Alright. Let's get another rag. We got a little bleed out around the edges of my jug here. Wipe that up. This stuff is very lightweight, but it is still quite slick. Low viscosity, high slippery coefficient. I don't know that much about oil, but it is very lightweight. It's like trumpet slide oil. You spill it on the ground, you will bust your ass. So I recommend not doing that. Now what we need to do is, in order to fill this up the easiest, what I discovered by trial and error is, you can try to fill it up through this hole. That's not very precise. You're going to get a little bit of air in there. It takes forever. So what we're going to end up doing is completely disassembling the main body and the reservoir, and then we're going to fill it back up with oil, and then completely assemble it, and then the last part will be to recharge with an inert gas. And in this instance, I'm not going to use nitrogen because I live in a small town and there's nobody that has nitrogen that will charge this to what its resting state was when I started, 155 psi. They're really designed to fill up car tires and not push that much pressure. So instead, we're going to use argon out of my MIG welder. We'll go over that when we get to it. So now we're going to get into disassembly. Alright, so one of the most difficult things in this process is getting this 4-inch hose disconnected from here. I went through a ton of different scenarios. Part of the problem is this inner cap will spin. It's just got an O-ring that's held in with a snap ring. So if you put a wrench on it and you try to take it off, it will turn. So I'm going to go off camera here for a minute. I'll be right back, and we will see if I can get it off. If not, I'll tell you how I finally figured out to get it off. Alright, so this one, same way. If you don't want to jack up your aluminum body and your stickers, make sure you wrap it in something before you put it in your vise. What did I end up doing, and I'm not going to show this part because you don't really need to, but what I ended up doing was, this is more important. I ended up taking a cutoff wheel and I literally cut it off right there. And then what I was able to do was I was able to get my impact driver over top of this, and the ratcheting impact of that, combined with the fact that I clamped this in a vise with some wood bits, will get it off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and then I'll show you the clamping and removal of this piece. Alright, so I lied. I'll do the cutoff here. Growing up, I was never a big fan of safety glasses. Having not lost my eyes, but coming close too many times, please wear safety glasses, even if it's a quick job. So cut it off about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch up. Not too close though. There you go. Nice little burnt oil. Nothing like a nice little cutoff wheel. There you have it. Now, what we're going to do is disassemble this and take the cap out. So we got our new piece off. It's really hot. what we're going to do is take this apart. So be careful not to mess up this Schrader valve down here, but you can, when it's not charged, we'll do that later. You can press this in. There is a snap ring holding this on. You can put this in, give it a little press, and it should go. If it doesn't go, do this. Going to put it in the vise. Do not crank down on that. You will crush the cylinder, the reservoir, and that's not a good idea. So if I put it in there, give it a good grip. Man, fun bad boy is not coming out. Alright, put it in your vise. Give it a little tap, and then there we go. There's still a little pressure left in there, so I released a little bit of pressure. And now inside of here you will see there is a snap ring. In order to get that out, you can do one of two things. You can pry it out with any variety of things, or you can get a little pick like this one. A little set of Craftsman's was like 12 bucks. Stick that under there. Be very careful, it will pop out, and then there is your snap ring. So take this, put it aside on a clean surface. So I'm making a new clean surface for parts. And now you can see that this is compressed. Next steps. Alright, now that that's out, you can pull this out. So I usually like to just grab a what are we going to pull it out with today? You know what we're going to pull it out with? We are going to pull it out with a pair of vice grips. So you don't really need a pair of vice grips, but what I like about this is I can set the opening. So it's not about the fact that these are vice grips. It's about the fact that I can control the degree of grip. Clamp it right on there. Give it a little pull and a twist, and out it comes. And there you go. More oil all over myself. Now, one thing that I did find interesting about these shocks is when I took them apart, and it's been this way every single one that I've done. I honestly don't know anything about these from an engineering perspective. Full disclosure, like I'm not an engineer, but look at all the sludge in there. I don't know what that's all about, but I don't like it. It offends my sense of sensibility, so I usually clean all that out. So now I have got the cap out. Now on this cap there is an O-ring. You can very carefully with your fingernail, I just cut my fingernails again, so maybe not. Alright, maybe not. Even more carefully with your pick, stick it under the O-ring. Do not nick the O-ring. Do not tear the O-ring. You will reuse this O-ring. Just get it started, peel it off, put that on your clean surface. You're taking that O-ring off because we're going to end up clamping this in between two pieces of wood, and you do not want to damage that O-ring by clamping it. So then we're going to clean this up, give it a little brush. Alright, now it's pretty clean. You'll see, looks like that on the inside. We are going to clamp it up and take this off. Alright, so I always have some scraps of wood laying around. You can see I've used this a couple different times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide into the grooves that I've already made. Open up my vise a little bit more. Slide into the grooves that I've already made. Go, and use wood so you can get a tighter clamp. Now you'll notice I've got these silver plates on my vise. Those are aluminum. That's a piece of aluminum angle. And use the aluminum angle, fit it over your vise. Aluminum is softer than steel. This happens to be aluminum now, so aluminum on aluminum is still going to cause a problem. So if you put it in, you clamp it down until you get a little crackle from the wood. That'll be just fine. And then we're going to put the impact gun on it. Trusty DeWalt. Out it comes, just like that. I'm sure there's a better way to get it out. I'm sure there's a way that you could reuse this 4-inch. I had no need for a 4-inch. I don't know many people that do have a need for anything that's 4 inches long. Just saying. But this works for me. So, introduced a couple new tools. Again, you can use whatever you want. I happen to like vice grips. My DeWalt impact gun, 9/16 deep socket, etc. There's that. Now, this time around, I'm not going to completely disassemble this reservoir. On their inside of here is a plastic separator. On this side is your inert gas. On the other side is your oil reservoir. So what I end up doing, actually I am going to disassemble it because it's going to make it a lot easier to fill. So let's just do that. Let's not try to take a shortcut, shall we? Shortcuts are where you always get into trouble. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press this down. Maybe. There we go. I'm going to take my pick. I'm going to pick out the snap ring. And this one, because there's still even a little bit of gas pressure in there, this one will come right out. If it won't, and you happen to have a screw-on Schrader valve piece like this, makes it a lot easier. Fun fact, do not use anything to clamp onto your Schrader valve. They are incredibly soft, and you will crush it, and it will not charge correctly. I'm not going to say that I learned that by experience, but I'm not going to say I knew that out of the gate either. So we'll leave it up to your imagination. I did happen to get one of these a while back, and it's just a great tool. If not, if you have a locking fill valve or anything that can screw on or crimp or anything, it doesn't take a lot of pressure. You saw I didn't have to apply much at all. So there's that. And then the last thing we need to do is, I will take this all the way out. So let's put this down here. I think I actually lost. It's great. I had a piece of wooden dowel. I do not think I have that piece of wooden dowel any longer. That is unfortunate. So we will simply use very carefully and gingerly there we go. Nothing like a half-inch ratchet. So got this out. This too has a O-ring on it. So if you're going to stop for a while, I would encourage you to invest in some large plastic bags. I happen to have a couple. I bought some of these off of Amazon. These are very large, but these are great to seal parts up with. These are big enough. I'll put a link in the bio. They're big enough to put a differential in. Do yourself a favor and make sure everything's oiled down. Put it in a plastic bag so it doesn't dry out, doesn't get dirty, etc. You know, just do yourself a favor. So now you'll see there's nothing fancy. It is a hollow aluminum tube. So now that is completely disassembled. Now, we'll clean this up. So again, in summary, we have two snap rings. We have the top cap. We have the bottom cap with the Schrader valve in it. We have the plunger in the middle. And we have the body. So I went ahead and put the O-ring back on here just so it doesn't get damaged, etc. As you can see, there's the cap with the O-ring back on. So we're going to set that aside for a minute. Go ahead and put the plastic cap for the Schrader valve on there. Dilly dilly. Ah, so nice. Alright, now, getting the main body assembly apart. This is really a function of the way that I like to refill these. I don't know that it's entirely necessary. I'm assuming that I could also fill this up by doing the reverse. I could put this on here. I could put it down into the new oil and pull the plunger out like a straw. The problem is I don't know what kind of air I'm putting into the system. You don't really want air in here. So I, through trial and error, found a way that foolproof, no air gets in there. It's pretty sweet, but it does involve complete disassembly of your main body. It's not a big deal, but again, just my way of doing it. So pull your piston all the way out, almost all the way out, far enough. All right, now there are no whoa, got a little more oil. Look at that, dilly dilly. There are no threads on this. How much oil do we have? Oh, we have quite a bit. Let's get our gallon jar back. There are no threads on this. Like some of them, you can use like a special little tool. You can clamp onto it, and this end cap threads off. It is not threaded. It is snapped on. So it's just popped on there. And then the piston is held in with a snap ring. So it's actually quite elegant. Quite a bit of oil left in there. This is why you don't want to buy the 8-ounce version. You will use quite a bit of oil to fill these back up again. The other thing too, I contemplated, like, maybe I don't need to completely drain this. Maybe I just take it apart and mix the oils. Wasn't really a big fan of that idea. Not that I've ever had any bad experience, but just in general, fluids, I like them to be the same. So, change your oil. I don't know. I like synthetic oil. I'm a Mobil 1 guy. I've always liked Mobil, synthetic, and so I use Mobil. Some people are like, doesn't matter. 30 weight oils, 30 weight oil, synthetic, synthetic. They're probably right. But you know what? If I always use the same oil from the same manufacturer, I feel better about it. I'm more confident about it. Makes more sense to me. And it's my Jeep. So, there you go. I get to make the rules. Alright. So, now that we got that out, that was quite a bit of oil. Put this back down here. Probably gonna need to get it again, but we'll see. Alright, so basically, take your screwdriver, put it on here. There is a little lip right on the top of this. This, if you're careful, you won't mar it too much, but take your dead blow hammer, give it a little tap, and it'll start to separate. Flip it over, give it a little tap, separate quite a bit. Hard to see from over there, but you can see there's a nice little gap in there. Now that it's separated, I can stick the screwdriver in the little gap, give it a little twist, roll it over. Give it a little twist, roll it over. Give it a little twist, almost. One more time and I think we're golden. There we go. And the cap is off. And again, it just pops in there. Now, we're going to press the piston. You'll see the top of the piston's right there. Press that back down again. Get a little bit of oil squirt, but not much. Yay. And there's the snap ring in there. So same thing. Grab your little pick. Take your snap ring out. Throw that on your parts. Your clean parts thing. And then, very carefully, pull that out. And that's the rest of your oil. That's why I said very carefully, because more oil will come out when you do that final operation. Now, that's a look at what your piston looks like. So we got that. So we're going to put that on our clean parts place as well. Woo! Got quite a bit of oil in there. Hold on. Let's prop that up. Let's bring this back up again. Put you right there. Cover that hole. Alright. All that oil is now out. That is quite a bit of oil. Look at us. Now, of course, I'm going to put this oily rag into a special container and dispose of it properly, because that's always good. You really should try not to just throw petroleum products and especially electronics away. It's bad. So don't do that. Alright, so at this point we have completely disassembled our Fox 2.0 Performance shock for our Jeep TJ. We have our main shock body. You'll see there's nothing fancy in there. It is just a hole. Have our piston along with the snap cap. We have our reservoir, again, nothing fancy. And then we have all the caps. So from here, we're going to clean everything up, wipe it all down, and we'll move into reassembly. That will be part 2.